MSNBC yesterday, pro-Trump CPAC speaker pledges end of democracy. I'd like to play for you this clip from MSNBC, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, look, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
That's right, because all glory is not to government, all glory to God.
Here we go.
If I were the Biden campaign, I would pay to have every American see the CPAC convention, because the thing that has been thwarting Republicans in the midterms and since has been this impression of the Republican Party as an extreme party. Yesterday, you had someone stand up at the CPAC convention as speaker and basically talk about we almost toppled democracy on January 6th. We're going to do it now with this, and he held up a cross, basically advocating for theocracy. This is not the image that the Republican Party wants.
This is CNN.
It's hysterical.
Wait, here's
Advisor
more.
David Axelrod with that message to the Biden campaign after a far-right activist told attendees at CPAC his goal is to overthrow democracy and finish the mission of January 6th, which was met with glee.
That's right, and it's met with glee here on
That's
Timcast
a good pause
IRL.
right there.
This was amazing because no one understood anything that Jack was saying.
The room temperature IQ of the people at MSNBC and CNN brings me great joy. And
Me too.
what we want to do here is continually mock them into sheer embarrassment so that nobody would ever want to associate with them out of fear that they will be belittled or shamed. Listen. Any sane, rational person heard Jack laugh after the first sentence, and everyone started laughing as well. Okay? If these people want to act like this was, on CNN, I don't think they showed the clip. So they're playing a dirty game like they normally do.
Sure
but
are.
if you ever want to ask yourself why CNN's ratings are apocalyptically low and why they've been, basically about to go under for the past couple of years, look no further. And this is exactly where we need to be. To the point where let me put it this way. In the Trump years, they didn't know what to do. All they knew was complaining about Trump got them views. Millions upon millions of views. Once Trump left, they had nothing to do, and their views started going down. I used to have CNN on 24/7. Back when I was in Jersey, I had a projector screen with CNN on the wall, and I would leave it running for breaking news. But at some point, I noticed something. I was sitting in my room. This has got to be like 2018 or something. And I'm like, reading news articles. And then I look up at the screen and it's a panel sitting in a circle talking about Donald Trump. And I'm like, whatever. And then I see on Twitter, some big news is happening in Iran. And so I'm like, I get up and I look at CNN. It's a panel talking about Trump. So I switched to Fox News. Fox News covering Iranian uprising. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm watching Fox News instead. I eventually posted on Instagram the CNN challenge. Turn on CNN. And then switch to Fox News, and what will you find? CNN will always be talking about Donald Trump, and Fox News will be talking about the news. And that's when I was like, off. There is no way CNN could ever get me back as a viewer. What that means is, when CNN got that new boss, and he tried, Chris Licht, when he tried to be like, let's stop being far-left psychopaths, it did not bring the viewers back. Why? I'm not going to come back and watch your garbage. You set yourselves on fire. I'm out. Let's encourage more of this. Who's that? Mika Brzezinski? Is that who that is?
Mika Brzezinski.
Mika Brzezinski. Let her look at the face she's making. Can we pull it? Look at that face.
Yeah.
Is there a way to zoom in on that face? Can we? We can't make it any bigger.
I had the similar thought though. She looks absolutely retarded. Sorry, can I say that?
Yes, you can.
Sorry.
I'm just gonna.
Crazy lady.
You can say that, and you can't say nationalism.
Listen, I am telling you what the left is going to do. I'm not telling you what I want. I'm not telling you my preference. I'm not telling you that I think this is good. I'm not telling you I'm happy about it. I'm telling you what they're going to do. I'm not telling you that I want them to do this.
This is we're every day we are seeing the corporate press just destroy themselves. Let us gloat and mock them. And what I think? I was thinking something really. It was kind of obvious to me when I thought about it. Advertisers don't really care that much to advertise to 18-year-olds. They don't have money. And so they're starting to come into that bracket. And so 18 to 35 is the money demo. But on the lower end of things, they're like, well, look, if we want to sell a product, we want to find like 34-year-old men and women. These are the people who are in middle management. They're starting to take over industries. They got cash to spend. Advertise to them. And so I'm like, advertise to 18-year-olds. Send a message to them. That's where we want to be. So we should do everything in our power to direct all of our parallel economic efforts should be advertised towards 18 to 24-year-olds. 10 years from now, when they're 35, they'll be, in our camp. So let's mock MSNBC. Let's mock CNN and mock them and make 18 to 24-year-olds laugh at them. Bring them in the joke and say, hey, look how stupid these people are. And then you destroy them. They will not be able to, look, man, if 18 and 24-year-olds feel that MSNBC and CNN are garbage, in 10 years, they will be out of business because they will have no viewers left.
I imagine that's probably already written into the cards, but that's just
perhaps. But I rather enjoy the absurdity. I'm gonna tweet this here picture real quick, just that. There you go. Democracy. There it is.
Solid.
Yeah, do want to make a point because Jack is right. Is power does come from God, not from government.
It's true.
He's 100% correct.
And you had what was it on CNN where that woman said the fringe Christian right believe that rights come from God or something? Is that what you said?
the fringe Christian right in the literal founding documents, in the literal Declaration of Independence.
Those fringe Christian nationalists but it's started this country.
It's not even that. This woman on CNN said something like that, like the fringe Christian right thinks that rights come from God. It's basic moral philosophy as to whether you believe in God or not, within the nature of existence, there are certain things you can do. And so I often describe it as like, what rights do you have? Anything you can do in the middle of the woods. You can speak, you can defend yourself, you can build shelter, you can do a lot of stuff, but you don't get health care, right? So health care is not a human right.
Right.
You don't get food. Food's not a human right. You don't get anyone else's labor. Ain't nobody there to do it for you.
The difference between positive and negative rights is something that the left has tried to, the difference between positive and negative rights is the difference between actual rights and privileges or benefits provided by government, right? Negative rights are things that you can do, like Tim says, in absence of government. And then all of your positive rights, they're literally all just gifts from government. So it's literally taking from other people. So that way you can give it to
healthcare is a human right.
Yeah.
That means someone else's labor belongs to you.
Yeah. I don't remember those in the 10 Commandments, that's literally, right? I mean, look, this is a Judeo-Christian country. That's where we founded a lot of our laws, where they came from, Old Testament, New Testament, a mixture of those. And it's pretty clear, right? And they weren't talking about healthcare or any of these other things, but that is how this country was founded. Obviously, they pulled a lot from different philosophers in Greece and things like that as well. But that it is a foundational piece of this country.
But Prager, Dennis Prager makes the point excellently, cut flower or cut stem politics, I forgot the phrase he uses, where you can cut a flower from its root and hold it up and it's beautiful, but eventually it will die. So I look at, yes, the things that most people in this country claim they support, even liberals, they claim to support free speech, but half of them don't. Speedy trials, all of these things are rooted in biblical teaching. And they were adapted in a way, into our government. Then you look at someone like Bill Maher, total atheist, absolutely secular, but still holds these moral traditions. Free speech, speedy trials, all of those things that are rooted in biblical teaching. The next step after him is wokeness, amorality, a lack of morals altogether.
Yeah. Well, in this is by no means to say, look, you need to believe in God. People don't, but you do need to respect the values, culture, and norms that have been created in this country by those kind of foundational principles. Now, myself, I am religious, very much so. I'm a very strong practicing Catholic. Not everybody is. That's fine. But the way we got these laws you can say whatever you want about it, but you can't go back and rewrite it. It exists.
Yeah, I think the important thing to understand is the reason why the left doesn't care for the way we see the world is that it is rooted in Christian moral foundations. And that doesn't mean you need to believe in God to adhere to them. Bill Maher opens the door to a lot of bad things, but he does call out the woke periodically. He does believe things that are incorrect, so we can criticize him for that. But he believes in free speech. He believes in a lot of these principles, and it's a good thing, but you can see it fading. And so the far left absolutely despises all things Christian, including the fundamental rights that most Americans believe in. And the problem is when you separate Christianity from the future generations, you eventually will erase all of the moral philosophies that came with those teachings.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. And like even the existentialists talked about that, about how they were erratic, they didn't believe in God, but they were essentially using the Christian foundations as a means to build on top of that and as a means to declare that there was a necessity for personal responsibility. But yeah, when you pull the foundation, the whole thing collapses. It's a house of cards. And the left doesn't realize that. They don't realize that everything that they have been doing is actually founded in Judeo-Christian morality.
See, I have a different take on where the left's like whole philosophy comes from. Like, I think that they're counter-enlightenment.
I don't think there is a moral philosophy. I think it's absence of.
Well, that's part of being counter-enlightenment, right? Like if you're counter-enlightenment, then you don't have to worry about truth. They reject truth, right? Mm-hmm. They reject the idea of truth. They think that everything's subjective. So the reason that to normal people it seems like they don't have a philosophy is because they don't believe in anything being true. There is no objective truth. We can't even know reality, right? So the argument goes, because our senses have a characteristic, right? We can never actually know reality. Everything that we see and everything we experience is all our brain interpreting what's going on in the world around us. We are forever cut off from reality. So that means there is no reality. That means talking about reality is the wrong thing to talk about, or talking about things that are true, or any of that kind of concrete reality they reject entirely. Mm-hmm. And so if they reject reality, it doesn't matter what they're arguing, because they're only arguing to try and acquire power or to get to assert power.
That's what happened too with Jack's speech last week at CPAC, which was actually really fascinating. He spoke on Thursday, but then he spoke to the full convention on Friday. And I was sitting back, with the rest of the dirty media in the media section. And it was an incredibly powerful speech. And he did talk about the end of democracy. But what he was talking about were all of the things that have been put in place by the Democrats over the past several years that will spell the end of democracy, from mail-in voting, as a big thing, to all of I can't remember them all right now, which is annoying, but all of these different things that the left has enacted to destroy the foundations of American democracy. And he was saying, we are facing the end of democracy. Why? Because all of these things have been put in place in order to end it, in order to, prevent Americans from having their own country, from the decimation of the border to the massive crime to the lockdowns to the destruction of the educational system, the destruction of the, ballot integrity, for lack of a better way to say it, with mail-in balloting and the harvesting and all of that stuff. That's what he was talking about. And so it was so clear, like within 15 minutes of his speech, I looked on Google and it was everybody. It was Newsweek and the New York Times, everybody complaining about what he had said without listening at all to what he was saying. It was an incredible indictment of the Democratic left.
One of the best pieces of media that I've seen in a very long time is in Baldur's Gate 3. And that's probably why it's considered it's going to win Game of the Year. It's considered this big deal. And I really do recommend, if video games aren't your thing, you can just watch or whatever. But there's this moment in the game, it's a cutscene basically, where you find there's this guy named Malice Thorm, and his ideology is rooted in what he describes as absence. That, I'll simplify everything for you. The fact that you can see is the actual cancer, because now you can experience all of the awfulness of reality, and you'd be better off being cured by being killed. And so it's this, I can't even, it's just one of the most amazing bits of fiction I've seen in a long time. The actor, the display, the gruesome, the gore is amazing. He's claiming to be a doctor as he's mercilessly torturing a guy, claiming, "Don't worry, I'm curing you." And I bring this up because it reminds me so much of what the left is. We are helping you as they steal from you. We are giving you, protecting your rights as they rob you of your rights. They are nihilistic, amoral individuals who are assuring you that their morality is the path towards the cure for what ails you, while they destroy everything that is good in this world. Just
absolutely. I think one of the most salient points, though, that, obviously Jack made in the speech, and this is what we're talking about, is, power coming from God. The big question that we have here in what's eroded in this country is power versus authority, right? It's power versus authority. In the absence of those things, and power and authority ultimately coming from God, what are you left with? You're left with will to power. Will to power, which is Friedrich Nietzsche, and will to power means whatever you have, I want, and I will take, right? And that's why we're basically left in this situation where there is no kind of moral standard left here to communicate with each other. And it's all will to power. It's, I'm going to destroy you, what you're trying to do, and this and that. There is no consensus kind of, well, maybe that's kind of, above the fray. Maybe we shouldn't do it. But that no longer exists, unfortunately, particularly with the left. And to Phil's point, I mean, really what they are is like, it's the rationalists, right? They rationalize their own existence, their own
and
gender.
They rationalize their own sin, and they rationalize all of it.
Yes, and it's a self-rationalization where it's like they have to be in constant revolution and change, right? Like,
yes.
And constantly justifying their own depravity.
Yeah, and the gender that they are, and this and that. And at the end of the day, what they're constantly searching for and will never find is purpose. And purpose is the ultimate thing that lacks now, unfortunately, in this country, and which is being eroded further and further. And that's why you see people, going into getting surgeries and all this. Maybe this is my purpose. Maybe my purpose is to be a woman or this or that.
It's because for them it all comes from
or Palestine.
Right. That's the new thing.
That's the other purpose.
But and it all comes from this internal place of, narcissism and self-obsession.
I think Israel-Palestine is a really great example of the emptiness of heart that this generation is experiencing. Because, I talked about this with Ian in the Members Only show. When he gets into it and starts saying like, oh, Israel this, Israel that, I'm like, Ian, can you name any other country that has received billions of dollars in funding and was set up by the United States government? He's like, no. I'm like, so the question is, why do you know and care so much about just Israel? I think what did we give, like 180 billion to Vietnam or some insane number, like at that time?
I can't remember.
Not that we're still doing that, and certainly that you're allowed to be concerned about Israel. My point is simply, for someone to go out in the street and immolate themselves over Palestine, a place they'd never been to, and when there's so much injustice in the world, why choose this one topic? Well, it's the cause celebre right now of the left. Yeah. And for people with no purpose, they've found it here now. They can do something.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything, but,
And this is important. I just want to, for the audience, and you can Google this, but look, rationalism, the end of the day, means that individual, self-rationalism, they are the ultimate arbiter of what is true. That's why someone's truth is different than my truth, and we don't have common truth anymore, right? Like, somebody identifies as a woman, and I'm like, that's a man. It's like, no, I'm a woman. This is my self-realized persona. This is who I am. That's how we've gotten here.
Yeah. I mean, they reject the concept of truth.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.